Okay guys, well welcome back to a rough guide at Skew. It's been a while. Had a few things on the burner, and also thinking how I'm gonna explain this next part. We spoke about the constants, we spoke about what the data is, we learned how to draw on them, and now I want to talk about some specifics. The first thing we're going to talk about is inversions, and then a more unstable lapse rate, and then we're going to start getting a bit creative with the lines and understanding where things start to constrict and where things start to expand, and talk about the spread. Once we get that, then that's pretty much it, to my knowledge. Like I said, I'm no meteorologist. I just look at these things every morning, and I would say anyone who's flown with me in the past would say that we're pretty much bang on with what we can and cannot do throughout the day. So yeah, let's try and crack on with this, the first chart, the inversion. I'm going to draw it on like this. This level here follows the DALR. It's 1 degree every 100 meters. This is unstable. And unfortunately, this layer is not very deep. And then it's isothermic, but if you do zoom in on it, it's actually warming with altitude. So the inversion is here, okay? This level here. This is unstable. This is inverted. This is absolutely stable up until it gets to about this level here. So this is absolutely stable. Then it follows the SALR line here. Starts to become more stable around this area here. So this is just stable. Then again, absolutely stable. Apologies for my handwriting. And then again, absolutely stable and almost isothermic, which means that in this altitude here, absolutely 0 degrees per 100 meters is lost. That's the best way I can describe it, guys. When you look at a graph, when you look at a chart, try and see what the general gist of it is, and hopefully it helps you out. Right, now we're going to crack on with what this means for us in the real world. What you might notice on the hill sometimes is that a few guys are struggling to get out at a certain height, but a few boys have punched through, and the word inversion or it's inverted, they get thrown around very often. Now, it's not always an inversion that causes this. It's often just a layer of stability that just a hot source will eventually break. But in this case, no, it's not going to get broken because this is classic ground inversion. Okay, so if you remember, the first thing we do is we draw the ground, and the ground's about 150 meters. So I'm going to draw that there. And then, if you remember, I'm going to draw parallel to the saturated specific humidity lines, which is these ones. I'm going to take the dew point, and I'm going to follow those up like that. And I would say this day was around 14 or 15 degrees, but let's just be generous and call it 15 degrees. And we're going to put it there. That's that plotted with a 15 degree temperature on the ground, going along the DALR. And we've got a dew point there, I would say, of around 0. Now, normally, when they converge, at this point here, we go off on the saturated adiabatic lapse rate, don't we? Up here. However, when these lines converge on the left hand side of the ELR, the environmental lapse rate, expect blue conditions. If these lines were to converge on the right hand side of the ELR, expect clouds. Now, this is an extremely important principle of plotting these graphs, and something that we'll need to know as we move on to the next step. Okay, so we've plotted the graph, we've zoomed in, and now there's a few things that I want to explain. There's 3 things that from this day, from just looking at these lines, that you might or you might not understand about this day. I remember this day pretty well. It's quite unstable in the lower part of the sky. So let's put red there. That's probably about 1,200 meters. If you notice then that the ELR and the DALR start to squeeze together. Now that means that the temperature of the thermal and the temperature of the air mass start to get very close to each other, which means there's neutral buoyancy. So I'm going to draw that on as a yellow line. Air has weight and air has speed, so it has inertia. So the climbs that were going up past where the temperature of the thermal and the temperature of the air were the same were very rough, nasty climbs. I call those inertia climbs. So this day I would expect that the first one is that it's not going very high. Most thermals start to peter out around 1,100 meters. The strong ones go up to about 1,500, and anything above that starts to become quite nasty indeed. Maybe the really long crossings aren't so predictable. And the third one is because it's not going very high, I would say around 1,100 meters, there's going to be a lot of pilots caught down low, so it could be quite crowded. So let me just recap that. 1 is the operational height, 2 is the amount of comfort, and 3 is the amount of pilots that you're going to find at the same level, which is going to make things even more challenging. All right, guys, well, that was the fascinating life of inversions, and if you've got any questions, post them in the comments below and I'll try and answer where I can. We've got one more ordeal to go, which is what a stormy day looks like, and where it squeezes and gets all a bit weird. But we can talk about that on the next one. So yeah, happy lockdown. Cheers, guys. All the best.